Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. He's the longstanding independent member of the United States Senate. He's joining us right now. I know you caucus with the Democrats. Very quickly, Senator Sanders, what happened to the Democrats? Because they suffered hugely this week.
The Republicans ran a very smart political campaign. The American people are extremely dissatisfied for good reasons at the state of the economy. The middle class continues to collapse. That's been a 30-year collapse. The gap between the very, very rich and everybody else is growing wider. Real unemployment is close to 12%. And what the Republicans successfully did is blame Obama for all of these problems and then go after all of the senators who have supported Obama. What they also managed to do, Wolf, and a brilliant political strategy, is not tell us what their agenda is. All over the country, in conservative states, people said, let's raise the minimum wage to at least a living wage. What's the Republican position on that? They're against that. Poll after poll tells us that the American people want to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and create millions of decent-paying jobs. What's the Republican position on that? They're against it.
Let me just ask you, I want to just get your quick reaction to what we just heard from the Speaker of the House, John Boehner. He was very blunt. He said if the president goes ahead and through executive action, unilaterally, without going through Congress, tries to change the status of illegal immigrants here in the United States, that will be very dangerous. He will poison the well, and it's as simple as that. He says the president better not even think about doing that. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is the people of this country overwhelmingly want to see the minimum wage raised. Is the Republican Party going to do what the American people want? The American people do not want more tax breaks for the wealthy and large corporations. Is the Republican Party going to poison the well by going forward at a time of massive wealth and income inequality, giving more tax breaks to people who don't need it? I think what Boehner is talking about is just a political attack on the president.
And do you support will you support the president if he goes around Congress and takes that executive action to change the status of illegal immigrants?
Look, what I support is Congress and the president doing everything they can to address the serious problems facing the American people. Immigration is one of those issues. In the Senate, we passed a bipartisan bill. The House did nothing. Let's do something together. That's the preferable route. But most importantly, let's not turn our backs on the middle class of this country and ignore the enormous economic problems they are facing. Let's not simply work for the rich and the big campaign contributors who control the United States Congress. If we can do that and respond to the needs and the pain of the American people, you know what? I think you'll suddenly find that Congress is regarded a lot more favorably than is currently the case.
I know you're seriously thinking, at least thinking about running for the Democratic presidential nomination. Now that the midterm elections are over with, candidates are going to start announcing, creating exploratory committees. Where do you stand on that, Senator?
Well, I am giving thought to running. But for me and the nature of the campaign that I'd be running, I've got to get a lot of input from people all over this country. We haven't made that final decision yet. But, Wolf, when you take on the billionaire class, and you take on the Koch brothers and Wall Street and the drug companies and all these guys, you don't do that haphazardly. You've got to really think it through. And I just want to know whether there is grassroots support in this country for an agenda that's going to speak to the needs of working families and the middle class, prepared to take on the big money interest. And I've got to determine that, and we're not there yet with that determination.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you've already made a visit or two to Iowa. I assume you've been to your neighboring state of New Hampshire. How are you being received in those early primary and caucus states?
Well, you know, in fact, quite well. We've had very decent turnouts around the state of Iowa and in New Hampshire as well, and in other places around the country. But it's one thing, you know, when, 300 or 400 people come out to a meeting, it's another thing to see and get a sense of where millions of people in this country are. Look, The American people today are very demoralized. One of the takeaways of this last campaign is that in my state, by the way, and all over this country, the vast majority of the people didn't even vote. Young people don't vote. Low-income working people don't vote. They're disgusted. They're giving up on the political process. Is it possible to bring those people back in so that they stand up and fight for their rights and take on the big money interests? I don't know the answer to that yet, and that's just something we're exploring.
All right, we'll see what when that decision comes forward. Always a pleasure having you on the program, Senator. Thanks very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bernie Sanders is the independent senator from the state of Vermont. He caucuses with the Democrats, but he's